National Football League made some announcements yesterday. And here is a part of that statement. After speaking with both teams and the leadership of the union, Roger Goodell informed the clubs today that the Bills-Bengals game will not be resumed this week. They did further announce that the NFL has made no decision regarding the possible resumption of the game at a later date. They also said, as you see, the league has not made any changes to the Week 18 regular season schedule. It is premature, I suppose, to say that means they cannot subsequently decide to make any changes. They have announced solely that to this point, they've not made any changes. So, Schefter, understanding that we tread lightly here because the overwhelming primary consideration is the health of Damar Hamlin. What do we know about the NFL's plans to proceed?
Well, I think everything is contingent upon his health first and foremost. But beyond that, once we get past that, Greeny, you've got a situation where the NFL has had 2 years where we can remember postponed games. The 9/11 year, where they pushed things back a week, and the year of the pandemic, where there were 15 different games that were postponed and rescheduled. In this particular case, I actually spoke to somebody yesterday that said the game from Monday night has bad mojo, that the league, one person in the league would like to just see it go away altogether. Now, people say that that's unfair. Well, life isn't fair, as we saw on Monday night, and that may just be the way it is. It counts as a no contest, and you go on from there. The other scenario would be that there is a week in which the Pro Bowl skills competition is scheduled. So if the NFL needed to find a cushion in the schedule to push things back 1 week, if that's what it ultimately decided, that would be the week it would have to play around with. It could have obviously opted to delay the games this week, which it did not do. The games for this upcoming week are scheduled to go on as planned. So the league can go through these scenarios knowing that it's got that 1 week buffer that it could always flex to if it needs to. It's also possible that the league will just ultimately decide we're just going to continue to go right on here and not play that game. And the way it shakes out is the way it shakes out. And if the Bengals win the AFC North because they didn't play on Monday night, or the Bills can't get home field advantage because they didn't have that extra game, so be it. You have 16 games to prove your worth and your value, and you got done what you got done during that time period. But these are the decisions the league can and will make and doesn't have to make right now and hasn't. Just some basic discussions, but the league will see how everything's proceeding first and foremost with Damar Hamlin, then this week, and make decisions before we hear if that game will wind up being resumed.
Of course, and those are the right priorities to have in exactly that order, and there isn't anything wrong with saying that they have to be considering all of these possibilities because that is what they do. Now, I want to make sure everyone is clear on just how much is at stake from a football perspective in this game between Cincinnati and Buffalo. And of course, in all the hype leading up to it over the course of the week, we were all made very aware of what was at stake. The Chiefs right now are the 1 seed in the conference. The Bills and Bengals right behind them, having played 1 fewer game. If Kansas City wins on Saturday, if the game between Buffalo and Cincinnati is never made up, then Kansas City would be the number 1 seed, and that would be the end of that conversation. Otherwise, Buffalo would be getting the home field with a win over the Patriots and a win against Cincinnati in a game that, as of this moment, is not scheduled to be played. They also would get the 1 seed if Kansas City were to lose. The Bengals still have a chance to be the number 1 seed had everything been under normal circumstances. But we understand that these are the furthest thing in the world from normal circumstances. So let me bring this out to the desk here. And Schefter, I'll keep you with us because perhaps there'll be questions that you can answer. Again, understanding that these are circumstances that are no one's fault, and that, as Schefter said, nothing is fair in life, and that the overwhelming first and foremost priority is the health and well-being of Damar Hamlin and the support of his family. There is still the remainder of a season to continue here. So, Dominique, if you're in the situation where you're contributing at the NFLPA, I'm sure they have some communication with the league office on how this should be handled here. The idea of letting the Buffalo-Cincinnati game just go as a no contest could have significant ramifications on the standings. Is that the right way to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to gauge the response from the players. And my guess is the players are going to feel slighted, because at least Buffalo, they would not have a chance at the number 1 seed because of a tragedy that happened to them. Like that's to Adam's point and to your point, That's the unfairness of it all. But I do think that that's probably where you end up, because that's the kind of easiest thing to do that causes the least moving parts. Otherwise, you're looking at pushing everything back 1 week and then having the Bills and the Bengals have just a standalone game one weekend and then everyone else in the league gets a bye. That seems really unlikely. We're at a point now where you cannot cram 2 more games for the Bills and the Bengals into a short time period. So that's really the only solution that I see going forward that does not impose any more hardship on the players on those 2 teams and the rest of the teams in the league.
Understanding there is no perfect solution to a circumstance like this. You have to just do whatever you believe is the right thing to do at this point here. Chris, what is the right thing to do?
Well, I don't know what the right thing to do is, Greeny, but what I saw on Monday night was the NFL prioritize the well-being and the humanity of not only Damar Hamlin, but the players on that field, the Bengals and the Bills, when they suspended that game. And it's my hope that they would continue to operate in that fashion, prioritizing the well-being of the players. We saw the memo that Roger Goodell sent out, providing additional mental health resources for the players in order to process what they're going through. But I think this is a situation where the league office needs to defer to the coaches and the players that are going to be asked to refocus and move away from Damar Hamlin and what happened on Monday night and play an actual football game. So I think that is what should be the determining factor in terms of when they decide to resume games in Week 18 and for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Bills in terms of how they're going to try to make up that game.
I understand exactly what you're saying, but what you're talking about is when we start playing football again, which. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.